hug your feet like that, stretching may be an advantage. But in actuality, flexibility at this level is negative to the stability of your body. In other words, your muscles are so loose that the integrity of the joint is not being held together. So you can touch your toes. Someone can put their hands flat on the ground, no problem, and have extra room over. We're gonna start looking for instability issues in the front side of that body. The hips don't work right, the hamstrings are always sore. There's all kinds of things that are going on at the cost of that flexibility. So stretching beforehand probably does not increase your performance, and it certainly doesn't make you a better sprinter. Is there any questions on this, guys? Is it? They're not exactly sure, but it seems like most of the evidence is saying that when you stretch, you're not actually stretching the muscle per se, but the increases in flexibility is a nerve reaction to constant tension. So your brain and muscles are actually adapting to the pressure. So if you stretch now to pain, what you're actually doing is you're tricking your body and you're training your body to withstand more pain. Anybody who's had a cast on? I'm a bike racer, so I've had a lot. When you first come out of a cast, your tendons and muscles think that this is too much tension. Just moving it hurts like crazy. After a while, your brain and your tendons get used to it, and you can move further and further, further and further. And what they think now is that when you become stretched, ultra flexible, what you're doing is you're tricking your brain into doing something that's past what the muscles are normally supposed to handle. So that's where the benefits come, that's where the increase in flexibility comes. I won't say benefit. So how do we prepare ourselves actually for exercise? What do we want to do? First thing, number one, all studies indicate you have to warm up. What's that mean? Raise your body temperature, muscles and joints, tendons, everything, the synovial fluid, the goop inside your joints, all of that stuff works better at warm. It's like a car. You don't start your car up. If you gun your car, it may or may not run really well. But as soon as it gets warmed up, it does. Our body's the same way. This is one thing that there is a direct correlation to in terms of how well you feel and how well your success is, and also your injury prevention. Very strong correlation between people who actually warm up and injury prevention. So what are we talking about? A smaller, gentler version of the exercises you're about to do. So we can say walking, jogging, rowing, like calisthenics, something that warms your body up that doesn't ask it to do too much. Your body temperature will rise, muscles get warm, everything starts getting better. Number two, preparing for exercise. This is the crux of our talk. This is going to be the most important part, in my opinion. Muscles and fascia preparation. We all know what muscles are. Fascia, anyone? Fascia is, your muscles are wrapped in a coating, and that coating has an interface between other muscles and the skin. And with exercise and wear and tear, that surface gets gunked up. Doesn't slide as well. You can tell when you pinch your skin and pull, sometimes it's gristly and crumbly and doesn't want to move smoothly. That's fascia sticking to the muscle. So that your muscle should normally work really smooth on that, and there should be a lot of motion between that, real easy, like there's butter in between that. So there's trigger points also in the muscle that we need to take care of. Trigger points are areas of what we'll actually cover a little bit more little bit later on, but trigger points, areas of muscle that don't move, painful areas. When we prepare properly with the myofascial release, it will allow us to move better and better complete our things that are to come, both in terms of our later warm-up exercises and also the sport we're trying to do. So examples of myofascial release, I'm sure all of us have been on the roller, and it gets better as you do it, I'm sure. Eventually it doesn't hurt that bad. So we have to think of muscle myofascial release, what it is. It is essentially brushing your teeth for muscles. We need to do it all the time. We don't do it enough. I think when we were older, like caveman types, we did it almost automatically by laying on a hard surface. We'd roll around and move, and that would kind of compress our tissues and make it more flexible. We've lost that a little bit in our modern lives. We also don't take ourselves through a full range of motion since we have toilets. So we lose a lot of that flexibility that would normally be there. So we need to have something that helps keep that loose. Lacrosse ball, boom, another tool that we have. This will get into those pieces that make you cry if you have not been there in a while. So these are valuable towards making our job easier towards getting you ready to go. Seen it, the stick, another tool to inflict pain on our helpless clients. So when used as a pre-workout therapy, it'll increase more range of motion and stability to increase performance. So if we hit the small muscles around the shoulder joint with a lacrosse ball, for example, if we do a test before we do it, your range of motion may be something like this. We hit those muscles all around there, those muscles loosen up free, and now they're talking better to each other. You get automatic increased range of motion. You can also, your muscles and joints are stronger when the joint is fully set into a joint. So when you can drive a muscle into having more bone-on-bone contact, and that's what happens when you pull that joint into this cup here, there's more ball and socket in combination with each other. You end up with a stronger joint. And you can only do that with myofascial release of those little intrinsic muscles that allow that to happen. They're normally triggered out, and we're stretching them all day long in the wrong direction, trying to get that stuff pulled out. We can use these things to start correcting that, getting it back in. So that's the before and after too. You can test and then retest, and that's kind of a philosophy with our gym. We want to see you do something, we want to apply a therapy to it, and immediately we want to see a difference. Otherwise, you're not better. So these things, myofascial release, shows instant results that will allow you to perform better. It allows you to, if you can move better, then your dynamic flexibility routine will be better. So what is dynamic flexibility? Just like how your dog moves. This is preparing your body for what it's supposed to do, or what it's preparing to do. It takes its joint through a full range of motion, further warming up joints, tendons, ligaments, stretches your muscle in a different way than static stretching. So this looks more like an activity. This looks more like you're moving. This is more like your dog doing down dog, up dog, and then getting ready to go prowl the backyard. This is more along the lines of the exercises and things that you're trying to prepare for. So the high kick, translates directly into what you're asking it to do. The reverse lunge with a twist translates directly into what we're asking it to do. And elbow to instep with overhead reach translates directly into what we're asking our bodies to do. So with dynamic flexibility, the differences from static stretching, we're not using an exterior source and holding a stretch. We're not here. We're not. What we're doing is we're using our muscles and our strength and our balance. All of these things are getting picked up and improved with our do it because we have to balance ourselves. We have to hold ourselves up. So we're using our strength to help create flexibility. An example of that is for our quad muscles and our calves. If we use our strength to pull ourselves down into a squat, my quads, my hamstrings, all of those are being asked to do something that is taking them through a large range of motion. My hip, knee, and ankle are all going through a bigger range of motion, yet it's not a static move. It's a functional range of motion that we will be needing to use later. So we're using our muscles to generate that flexibility. We don't need to take the muscle from both ends and yank on it. We can take it from one end and slide it through our body and make the other end move. Does that make sense to everybody, the differences? So some of these examples, see the one in the middle here, you're using hamstrings to create, you're activating and creating flexibility all at the same time. You're maintaining balance. All those little muscles around your feet are having to hold you up. So, now we're working out. Play, lift, train, whatever we're doing. We've prepared for it. We're warmed up. We're hitting the trails. Post-workout, we're back to the same dang thing. Myofascial release, #1 thing to help get you back on the road to doing it again. We have a little bit different philosophy to it this time. Now it's promoting recovery. It's getting blood back in there to start the healing process from the exercises you've just done. Prevents injuries, again, correcting any imbalances that you've been working on in your exercise. Reduces pain and tension. We don't have any imbalances in here though because we have well-programmed workouts all the time. So reduces pain and tension, relieves muscle soreness and joint stress. So this gal here looks like she just got done running. You know, boom. I'm blowing out more air than I'm bringing in, obviously, at this point. So I'm huffing, but what am I feeling? My legs, the outside of my legs. You ever run, the outside of your legs are smoked. Inside, not so much, not that much really going on. Calves, smoked. Low back. Toast. We can use that myofascial release to help bring that back into balance. So muscles get overused. Imbalances, that stuff is hot. You know, the outside of that quad, it's fired up. The joints are swollen. They're saying, hey, you know what, we did a lot of work here. Let's cool this down. Let's figure out a way to get us set up. So kind of what also happens, your body's always looking for stability. So part of that myofascial adherence between your skin muscles, that's actually a good thing. Once you start getting weak, that adherence as you're running and you're striding will help stabilize the rest of your body so your muscles themselves don't have to work enough. But if we don't take care of that, it's going to contribute to you not being able to move properly later on. So as everybody, it contributes to your stability when you're starting to get tired. So it's a good thing. You're on mile 26 of a marathon. You could have wooden legs and finish a lot easier than if you had nice supple legs at one point. So everybody understand the differences? So what's going on in the muscle? I think if we take a peek at this is complicated if you study it in biochem, but we're going to make it easy. Your muscles basically do this. They slide in and out. This is a contraction, this is a relaxation. And when you stretch, you're pulling those bundles apart even further. So there's less twine there than normally would be. That's why, in theory, it makes you weaker to stretch before your workouts. So what happens when you're running and that myofascial adherence is making those muscles stick together, a trigger point, in other words, you know, something, that bump that you feel when you're on your foam roller, those fibers are stuck, and it acts just like a motor. Unless that motor is cycling through, you're not getting new oxygen, new blood in there. It needs to move in order to get those nutrients in there to start the healing process. So what we found out that mechanically, if we put pressure right on top of that, just like dough under a foam or under a rolling pin, right under that dough part, you see that dough stretching out. So we use the foam roller like, and our muscles like dough. Right under that is a point stretch. It's pushing those fibers apart, creating more range of motion for us to move better, more freely. Anybody who's done that before or after exercise can tell that it makes you plain old work better. Any questions on this? Does this make sense?